Welcome to this episode of The Build Up, presented by the Florida Home Builders Association, serving up fresh perspectives on politics, building, and beyond.
Welcome to another episode of The Build Up. I'm your host, Ryan Benson, co-owner of A. Vernon Allen Builder in Naples and Sanibel. And with me, as always, is my awesome co-host, John Riddle, the Vice President of Turning Leaf Custom Homes. So with that, the conversation today is going to be around AI. And we're going to go way into where our industry is going. But with us becoming an expert in this field is Frank Coppola. So Frank owns Coppola Brothers Construction based out of West Palm. That's right?
Yes, sir.
West Palm. He's involved very much with the Florida Home Builders Association. He also chairs our Florida Certified Master Builders Council. And I'm going to jump right into the AI boot camp that you're running. So explain to our audience what this is and how it came about. Then we can do the rewind as to, where this is going in the industry. But this AI bootcamp thing is fascinating to me, and I want to hear about it.
Sure. And can I just say thank you for having me? It's not every day you get to fill in for Joe Rogan. I heard that he couldn't make it, and fortunately your staff reached out to mine and made this happen. So
Great.
It's awesome.
Thanks, Frank.
So the AI bootcamp, we have about half a dozen of the Florida Certified Master Builders that, one of our mission statements with that program is to be the change in the industry we want to see. On the negative motivation side is none of us wanted to become obsolete. So a few of us got together and decided to just get together and start talking about AI. And as we just heard our last podcast or your last podcast guest talking about, learning AI is just like learning another language. And we started out just trying to have vocabulary lessons. And we all just got together and picked a different AI platform. We have some that use Team Gemini, some that are Team ChatGPT. I happen to be Team Grok. And we just started working through it. And just like anything, diet, exercise, learning a new language, repetition is the mother of all skills. So we started meeting third week in April, 3 times a week. And,
It's a lot.
And for a half an hour, sometimes it go a little longer. But when I tell you, just the momentum went off right away, and we've created 6 monsters, just folks that have totally leaned into it. But it's kind of really easy to lean in because it's AI. So you learn so much so quickly. It's kind of self-fulfilling. It's just, it's very easy if you're interested in it and you're open to change.
And I think you have to be interested in it. And you had said in one of our previous meetings that stuck with me, and I've repeated it a lot, was, are you going to lose as a business owner a job to AI?
Right.
No.
No.
In the next 6 months. But you're going to lose to a competitor that is using AI.
Yeah, I mean, I've refined my statement. So
Okay.
we had that conversation in the middle of summer, and I said, look, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to someone that's using AI.
That's right.
And not my statement is refined. It's much more dramatic now. You will lose your business to a business that's using AI. And I'll support that. If you follow the stock market along, you have the Mag 7, right? The Magnificent 7, all technology stocks. And if you compare them to the S&P 493, there's a huge delta. And you are going to see, because of the leverage of technology, those companies growing so much. And you will see, you heard it here first, you're going to see companies just completely go out of business that are S&P 500 companies because they're resistant to change. This is the way we've been making our candlesticks forever. We've been making our buggy whips. We're always going to need them. And they're not even willing to consider the fact that their business is going to be obsolete.
And before we dive into a bunch of questions, I also want to get out early your book recommendation, which is the requirement for your boot camp.
It is. I do have a book, and that was a real eye opener. It's called The AI Driven Leader by Jeff Woods, Geoff. Shout out to Jeff Woods. I'm not posturing for a sponsorship, but I'm sure the Build Up podcast would.
We could use one. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. That was a fantastic book. I've joined it. Frank allows me into that group, so I kind of dabble in with them and try to show up
Fake
when
news.
I can.
2025 Builder of the Year is allowed in any room he wants.
All right. So I took advantage of that, and I'm in now. Yeah. But I'm so thankful I am. So let's dive more into AI. And
Sure.
why do you think there's businesses or individuals? Let's keep it in our world. That's who
Sure.
our audience is. Why do you think they might be resistant right now? Or do you think there's a resistance to AI?
I think it's human nature. It's just human nature. It's very hard to just change just to say it out loud. A lot of older folks get set in their ways. And the bigger the business, the bigger the bureaucracy in it, the more resistant it is inherently to change. So that I think is the first hurdle. But the good news is there's nothing stopping an individual to just open that door, take your cell phone and just start the conversation with AI.
Yeah. We had Secretary Griffin on a podcast, and she had mentioned their brand new website and all their platforms they laid out, mentioned that staff had brought in AI to help them with that. And I just find that absolutely amazing and thankful that they've done it. It's got to make them more efficient. Do you agree?
Well, let's dig into that, and let's talk about the home building industry and what is happening in some of the companies that we're working with. It's not just limited to home building; it's any business, but home building specifically, especially in the FHBA, we have our builders and our associates. On the associate side, you have lots of specialists, right? There's certain sector attorneys, insurance, permitting, lawyers. And then builders are more the generalists. So the specialists inherently are willing to realize they don't know everything, right? So let's just take any company, builder or associate, and you want to lean into technology. Well, okay, how do we learn AI? How do we learn AI? Are you going to hire a CTO for hundreds of $1,000s a year? Or do you hire a bunch of vibe coders? What are vibe coders? They're young kids that grew up with the cell phone in their hand, that aren't resistant to new technology. And we have 3 different firms that came in there, hired 3 kids, college-age kids, to come in and leverage the product. The output that these kids did in one summer it's worth real money. I mean, we have one kid that did not know anything, sitting in between 2 investment bankers, didn't know what he was doing, deer in the headlights. The investment bankers just said, hey, we need a website. And the kid's like, I don't know how to build a website. And they're like, we didn't ask if you knew how to do it. Figure it out. At the end of the summer, fully functioning website, the kid built with AI. They asked him, we need a CRM. So instead of going out to the marketplace and buying a CRM, he built one. So that is and I sat down with Dr. Robert Dietz, the chief economist of the NHB, and we had a great conversation about how this is going to help our industry, local, state, and national level. Every single school of economist thought agrees that productivity is the elixir to any economy. So we're seeing it in real time, that you can just take really a low wage worker and create such a huge output, which helps grow your business. Now we're serving more customers. So we're on the front lines here seeing this firsthand. And then more dramatically is the analogy that I make to this, which I don't know if it's controversial or not, but what clicked for me, and the pun is the light bulb went on in my head when I started looking at AI being like electrification of the world. And I don't want to lose my job working a hammer and chisel to the industrial revolution or to electricity.
Right.
So fundamentally, as I started these thought exercises and looking at what happened to those businesses that didn't want to adopt electricity, and we've had some jokes. Sean and I've had some jokes like, I spent all this money on candlesticks. They're in my garage. I don't want to waste them. And plus, where am I going to get a light bulb? I don't even know where to screw a light bulb in. And now look where we are now. I mean, every single thing we have has electricity.
And it is that big of a deal, whether people think it is or not. It's that transformative to the
bigger.
way we live.
It's bigger. It's another fun thing. There's a thought exercise. If you ever heard of the chessboard problem, it's about compound interest. It's like if you take a grain of rice and you put it on this first square, then you double it. How big is the pile of rice after 64 squares? The human brain really can't comprehend that. You can't comprehend that. So because we're people, cannot comprehend the power of technology, the power of AI, how fast these ships are. You have the entire human history of knowledge now available in your phone. And the answer to that question is, it is a pile of rice 10 foot high that will completely cover the state of Idaho.
Wow.
It was a fact. I used AI to solve that.
I bet you did. And we couldn't have a conversation without AI without briefly going into the dark rabbit hole of where a lot of the AI conversations go of what's this going to do to the population and the workforce, and what are people going to do because this can replace so many jobs. So what so I mean, we could spend an entire episode just talking about the what ifs of the end of days, but I'm interested to know your thoughts on the darker side of what this is going to do to the workforce.
There's always two sides of a coin, right? The sun isn't out. You just can't see it. So it's not like it doesn't exist. My answer to it is, sure, if you had a buggy whip company back in the day, or you were selling candlesticks, there are some folks that are going to lose their job. Then what happens? What are they going to do? That society philosophical question, I'll leave to people much smarter than me. But what I think has happened is you'll have entire sectors emerge. And the analogy you use on that is going back to electricity is, well, 130 years ago, you would dry your clothes on a clothesline. So you had the Acme clothesline company that sold rope, pulleys, clothespins, maybe the hook that goes into the tree in your porch. And then somebody started figuring out electricity, invented this thing called the dryer. And now think of all the businesses created. Like, you created an entire sector just in the dryer. And then there's another tinker in the garage who goes, there's a heating element. Oh, I'm going to make an iron. And now you have this entire, appliance division. How many more jobs are created than I don't know what they are. Thank you for saying I'm just learning, but I firmly believe that because productivity is going to increase and the cost of goods is going to plummet, that there is going to be more opportunity. And my hope, if I could really put my Pollyanna hat on, is I hope that the cost of living comes down so people can go back to school and be artists and be philosophers, and you can have single income family. That's where I see us winding up. The messy middle, I think, is going to be a little dicey, but I am a firm believer that that's where we're headed. And I have, before we run out of time, a thought exercise for everybody. If you want to have a little fun and you're in the home building space, ask AI the following question. Why does it cost less to buy a TV set, a flat screen TV, and hang it on the wall than it costs to repair a hole in the wall? Why does it cost more to fix the hole in the wall? Why does it cost less to buy a TV and just cover it up? And it's a really fun thought exercise and could kind of change your. So we can save that for another day, but there is a huge opportunity out there. Yes.
But let's talk about that real quick. For our listeners that have not yet adopted AI into their business day, and there's several levels that you can adopt AI in. I start out very simple with marketing, right? I don't have a marketing person on our team, but I use my AI, my thought partner, to help market my company and do a strategic marketing message for my company.
Great question. Yeah. My answer is, try to look at your computer differently. Don't face your laptop. People are used to going in as a query search or using Google. You're not accessing the library of humanity. Question. Think about it as you have the computer sitting next to you as a thought partner, not a trusted thought partner. Use it as a skeptical, because you'll get bad answers out.
They call them hallucinations, right?
Technology hallucinations. So it's just kind of fun. Like, we have some job security here because you have data input in the AI, but then you have data validation. You have to go, okay, is this so? I'll give you a real life example. So we started feeding our contracts into AI just because it was easier. So we did a non-meddling clause and a permission to use media clause and put our builder contract in there, put it in there. It came out. And then I started doing it to all my contracts. But I'm never going to take my contract from Grok to the workplace.
And for our listeners from the National Association of Home Builders perspective, our federation, is there any adoption or adaptation that they are looking into to help us on a federal level?
So I had the good fortune of being asked to sit in on the NAHB has an AI working group, part of the Leading Suppliers Council, sat in on that room. What was interesting is again, in real time, we're experiencing the difficulty of the larger the organization, the larger the company, the more bureaucracy there is. Fortunately for the NAHB and being a volunteer organization, they're not saddled with this. So the room that I was in had some amazing technical experts, folks that built robotics companies and then sold them off, like super thinkers. And what I had shared with them, I'll share with our audience here, is the same thing. It's fundamentally different what's happening now than the internet revolution. When computers came out, it came from the top down. So in order to implement a computer, they first thought, if you do a little history diving, they said that they only thought there were going to be 5 computers, 2 for the government, 1 for IBM, and because the cost of compute was so high. So it came from the bigger companies to the smaller companies, just like the computers went from being the size of a room, right, to now in the palm of your hand. Now you're going to see this invasion of AI coming from the bottom up. You're going to see it from individuals, just like the secretary of the DBPR just said. They have a bunch of their staff that are coming in and teaching, the executives how to use it. I think that's where we have a huge opportunity in our industry. Thankfully, we have these education tracks at IBS, so there's more opportunities for a vibe coder to come speak and for people not to be afraid to change. Look, it's all about addressing not only your business's bureaucracy, but your personal bureaucracy.
Right.
This is the way I've always done it. I don't speak another language. Wait, I'm 57 years old. I'm going to learn another language. Yeah, well, why not? It's called, learn how to speak AI. Why not? Why not just address that? So I think we're going to see it happen from the top as it comes up from the bottom, because, and it's Brian, since you chaired the political action committee before me, we have a saying in politics, right? You might not be interested in politics, but politics is sure interested in you. You might not have any interest in learning about AI, but AI is already all over. It's already over you. So you might as well just roll up your sleeves, get to work, start talking to your, talk to Grot, talk to ChatGPT, talk to Gemini, and get on with it.
Awesome. All right, 2 closing questions. Favorite restaurant in Palm Beach, favorite restaurant in Tallahassee.
Awesome. I was hoping you're going to ask me those 2 questions. Like, oh, I can't wait. Palm Beach County, Okeechobee Steakhouse.
Oh,
is
original, right?
The original Okeechobee Steakhouse. Been there since 1940. It was a drive-through restaurant back in the day. The old bar is still there. It's not a drive-through anymore, but it's a nice old oak bar across the street from the Bentley dealership. But they have $5 sliders and $5 beers. So you never know who you're going to sit next to at the Okeechobee Steakhouse.
Isn't
bar.
it one of the oldest? It's the oldest steakhouse in the state, I believe.
I would not challenge you on that.
ChatGPT will answer that. Okay.
Fact check me.
Let me find out real quick.
All right.
And in Tallahassee, the Governor's Club. I mean, it's just such a special place.
Yeah.
It's just surreal every time, I sneak in there and have the opportunity. It's a lot of fun.
Speaking about, you never know who you're going to sit next to, right?
Yeah, maybe that's the through line. That's the common thread. The common thread.
Awesome.
There.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on, Frank.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to all of our listeners. This has been another episode of The Build Up. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this episode of The Build Up, brought to you by the Florida Home Builders Association. Keep the conversation going, and we'll catch you next time.